Welcome to Section 31, Episode 241. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I am Rogue Schindler.
This week, Rogue and I just hours ago got off the plane from a short jump from LA, from a longer jump from Indianapolis. So we've just returned from GenCon 2014, and I don't think either of us have gotten any sleep since then. So why don't we recount everything we can remember before we pass out?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Get it while it's fresh before it all fogs up.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the tournament results and put them in this window over here so I can see what I'm doing. And maybe that'll help jog our memories, because we started off with, well, I guess technically we started off on Wednesday. Did you play any of the Wednesday tournaments at that awesome venue we were at, Granite something?
I did not. I did like the awesome venue. I did stop by and say hi to some people on my way, but I was finishing the last event of my pre-con con, uh, and so I was busy doing that before playing in any Star Trek. Did you participate? There was a World Championship Trek going on, qualifier, and some side events.
Yes, and I did neither. I'm trying to remember what because we'd gone out for a bit of dinner and then met the group over there, and I don't think I ate anything, although Charlie got this amazing looking ice cream dessert that I was determined to get, and then the next time we went on Sunday, I ate too much again and didn't get it then either. But I didn't play in either one. I think our friend that we brought along, JD, played in that event, but that's about it. I didn't play at all. So I'm guessing our first event was Thursday morning for the 1E Worlds Day 1.
Yep, bright and early. It was an interesting format. I don't know. I didn't really follow the schedules for years that I didn't gone, so this may not be news. But it was definitely different from the last time I made it to Gen Con. I did like the kicking off right away with the day one of each Worlds, so that you could play in both if you wanted, and then even have make the finals of both if you made it. I think they definitely did not used to be uh, participatable in both. And I'm making
Yeah.
up words now. You can tell we're tired.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I liked there were some people had complained about the timing of events because everything was kind of compressed. But since it was spread out the way it was, some players who were doing pretty well could get into day 2 in both events. They could play in day 1 of 1E and then day 1 of 2E, and then the first bracket for first edition and then the bracket for second edition on Saturday. Or in our case, we could play and not do very well in day 1s in both games, and then have all day Saturday to go off and do something else.
Which I
Uh,
really liked. That really took the pressure off.
yeah. So I have not yet posted my deck. Well, I'll have to do that. You posted your deck? No?
It's up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Anyway,
already up.
yeah. So I played a deck that we talked about a couple of weeks ago for first edition. It was a kind of Federation All Star style deck. After designing sets on sets that take advantage of having all the same property logo, I went the other direction and once again played something that had absolutely no bearing on that. And played with Guinan, to cancel AU dilemmas, and McCoy to cancel medical dilemmas, and just had kind of the all-star bridge crew all-stars and TOS ships to special download personnel for skills in the middle of mission attempts, and had O'Brien to special download New York transport to beam people out or into the attempt, and cheat around things that way. And out of time with Special Agent 7 to jump back and pass and back in time at Earth or somewhere else to cheat out of dilemmas.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the most fun decks that I've got because it uses personnel from across all properties, and just getting all the highlights together. That was fun to play. And for some reason, I don't know how, I remembered to add notes after the last time I played this deck into the deck builder. So the first time I played it, I had a really hard time solving Reunion for 40 points. So this time, I made a point of not trying to solve it for 40 points. I solved it for 15 points to finish something off. I've had a lot of bonus points. I had a mission that required stellar cartography, and there was maybe one or zero stellar cartography in the deck. So I added about six beefy personnel who had stellar cartography, and I might have taken one or two out that had plenty of mission skills. So I was able to really pile up on that, and I think those are the two primary things that made it fail the first time. And I felt like uh, if there's one problem with the deck, it relies on a historical poker game to get going for one card draw engine. The other card draw engine is a duck blind, and both of those require card plays to get moving. So it's usually the third or fourth turn before I'm doing more than drawing one and playing one, maybe playing two if my opening hand was good. So for the games that I lost, it was because the opponent was playing a focused, fast, and get out quickly deck. For the games that I won, uh, my opponents were slowed down just enough by dilemmas and such that I was able to get the engine going. The other trick was to when you pitch you pitch a personnel for a historical poker game, and you use Jean-Luc with his blue nanoprobe icon or subcommand icon, so you can nanoprobe resuscitation that personnel right to where he is. So
Right.
you get a free play of anyone you want, and that's where the beefy one-y personnel, that don't report for free came from. I had an Office of the President and the TOS, Sherman's Peak for free reports, and yeah, there was the one last-minute change that I was going to do. I was going to swap out the Huznok outpost and Huznok ship for a Federation outpost and the Enterprise E, but I did not have a copy of the Federation flagship renewed right before the tournament. I remember I swapped out 2 for 2, but I didn't have the third one that I remember I needed. I don't know if that would have helped very much, but I would have been able to staff the ship at least and move it because I had a couple of Enterprise E personnel. Um, but I played against Roxanne and I think I narrowly defeated her on the last turn. I played against Richard New, and again on the last turn. Oh, you know what? He made kind of a game-breaking mistake. He thought that he hit GOM2 and then went back to it again and had counted his cunning instead of his integrity, and
Oh
got a
no.
second ship damaged. So that put him off a turn, and I came in and won on the next turn. I played against. So I'm sitting at 2 wins, and I had went and shook hands with Stefan because he had a 2-game bye because former world champion
Mm-hmm.
from the previous year, and I said, well, you know what? I've had 2 rounds to figure out how to use my deck, but you've had 2 rounds of extra sleep, so we're probably going to get paired up. It's not going to go well for me. And sure enough, I sat down across from Stefan, and he was playing a just lightning quick Hirogen non-aligned deck, but he didn't. He underestimated how poor one of my dilemma combos were, and he accidentally solved a third mission or a second mission on the same turn.
uh,
So he had to solve 5 Delta Quadrant missions, and I was able to get up to 76 or 72 points or something, and was 1 mission away. But I held him off for as long as I could, but he beat me. And then, perhaps the most entertaining game of the day, Neil Matthew, who had an awesome con costume on. He was
yes.
dressed up with the shirt, the V-neck and the little pendant, and he had a little SETI eel and a pair of tongs he was chasing people around with. And and he sat down, and I figured, well, I can't remember the last time I played against a con SETI eel deck, but I guess here we go. And he set out a space line and set out 3 homeworlds and 3 Delta Quadrant missions, and I thought, well, apparently we're doing something else then. No, was it three homeworlds, 3 Delta Quadrant missions? I remember the 3 homeworlds. Yeah, and 3 Delta Quadrant missions, and 2 of them were Nebula. And I thought to myself, well, I don't think this is Khan. I think this is the Borg deck that I know very well. And he's going to try to harness a particle, and then he's going to come to the Alpha Quadrant and do one of these 3 head homeworlds for the win. And that's exactly what happened. So I know how fast the deck is because I used to play it. It was much faster than me. And on top of that, I had a kind of a 1 in 3 shot of where I was going to put my female love interest matriarchal society combo, and naturally,
uh,
that's exactly where he went first.
yep.
It was looking at his deck, he had three counterparts, and it was whichever one he drew first. And yeah, so it was. I held him off in the Delta Quadrant a few turns. I think I might have had enough time to go get the whales and score 15 points, and then I was a little worried that he was going to be playing, an aggressive assimilator. So I don't think I went out a turn. I think I could have gone out a turn earlier if I wanted to, but man, he just blew through that second mission and probed on the same turn, and it was a good probe. That was the end. So, an excellent win, excellent win for Nail, and he went on from there. Next, I was paired up against Justin Ford. Justin's one of the guys that I sent a lot of kits to, and I had met him last year when we played in a side event, but I never put the name to the face, so it was good to finally do that again. Justin's a nice guy. He was playing a Bajoran deck, and it was I think once again I stopped him just with one of the things I like playing at Gen Con is you always see different combos than you're used to. I mean, we get that a lot with Thomas V,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
there were people flipping over the first dilemma, and then confidently looking for the second dilemma and seeing something. I could see on their face it was something other than what they were expecting. They'd stop and read it, and then they look through their cards, and so I was able to stop them a few times, and I got another victory there. Uh, you know what? I want to say that my two, I don't know if these were entered correctly because my my two, oh no, that was something else. All right, my first two wins, something I didn't mention. Roxanne was playing all Delta Quadrant, and I think Richard was playing all, maybe it was Justin, I was playing all planet missions. Either Richard or Justin, I'm not sure. So my two wins against them were 100 to 100. That did not do good things for
Wow.
my differential. Um, anyway, I beat Justin and then went on to play Johannes at kind of on 3 and 2. I think the victor went to got into the bracket for the next day, and the loser did not. Johannes was playing Bajoran Resistance Cell and Headquarters, and I want to say that he had the station with a couple of free reports to the Quarks Bar, and he also had called themselves a Maquis and one Maquis planet for a few Delta Quadrant unique, non-aligned Maquis guys. So he had a lot of play engines. He was handshaking all the time, drawing a bunch of cards, playing a bunch of guys for free, and I don't even think I got my whales out. He beat me so quick. That was pretty
Wow.
that was a pretty tough game. Yeah. But all in all, I went 3 and 3. I had a good time with my deck, and I got to play one, two, three, five of the six people I had never played before. So that was, and I think that's why you go to Gen Con, right? Play new people, have a good
Sure.
time. So that was
Absolutely.
fun. I had a good time, uh, and I'm glad. I probably could have, had I had some more time, I probably could have picked a better deck, but I enjoyed the deck I was playing, and uh, the three wins were very tight wins, and the three losses were all right. Well, what are you going to do? That's what I get for not playing a world a tier one deck, I guess. So good overall. How about you? You looks like you started out with Richard Schmidt.
Yeah, I put off building my deck because I didn't know what I wanted to play for a long time, and it came down to Saturday. I had left myself all day Saturday to build decks and pack for Gen Con. I had a red eye flight that night at 10:30, and uh, not conducive to that process was having family in town visiting at the same time. It's my wife's family, so I thought they would be doing stuff together, but it was kind of off and on, and I tried to split my time, and it came down to I got everything else packed, and I had 2 hours before I had to leave for my flight to build my deck. So it really was not a I'm going to construct something creative from my brain because we all know how many hours that takes. So I went back and pulled last 1E tournament we played. Johnny had, I thought, a really fun Enterprise E deck. I always felt like that deck, while cool, like playing TNG, you get to use all the movie guys and feel like you have the whole crew out and do stuff, but they lag behind a little bit. But his version had a really unique, if a little cheesy, workaround play engine to get some extra free reports in there, which was cool. It was an interesting way of doing it. So I just emailed him. I was like, I'm gonna play this deck. Can you know, think of anything that should be different? And I threw it together, and I made a handful of changes of myself, but I tried not to do what I always do, which was borrow somebody's deck and then screw it up with my own ideas. Um, I even managed to find the flaws in my plans before I made most of them,
Yeah,
because the crux of it is using engineers to probe at Cochrane Memorial to get free plays. So there's a lot of interrupts in the deck, and several events as well. I was like, oh, Enterprise E, they get the free. You make it so you get the free ready room door, get all those captain's orders. That's great. And then I was like, wait a minute, are a bad probe, uh, so you don't really want those in there, and that could end up being disastrous. So I was smart enough to take most of those out. I left one in, and you helped me work out that workaround so I could shuffle my deck between playing the Viridian Door, putting it on top of my deck, and then cycling rough cards so I could shuffle before probing. It was really fun. I actually really liked it a lot. Unfortunately, my first round against Richard was basically your deck, from what I understand it. It was a all shows fed Earth Wales, you know, the Cochrane Memorial, and he got to go first, so he got one shot at the Cochrane Memorial, and then we sat there staring at each other, not being able to use it because you have to be unopposed.
sure. And you
So
can't find anybody.
yeah, that was kind of like the beginning of the end for me. Before I even got a turn, since that is really the main engine aside from relaunched. Um, that's the only way I have of getting more than two people out of turn. And he had, the K7 and the Office and Cochrane Memorial and something else that I don't remember right now. So he was still getting, three or four people, and I was not. So that was kind of bad to begin with. I, I felt like I was keeping it close for a while, but um, uh, I I had a couple of bad calls against me or misunderstandings of ways things work. One of which I heartily blame you for.
Yeah, full responsibility for that because we've been playing it differently the whole time.
Yeah. So a ruling which I used to take advantage of, and then we thought it was the other way, so I stopped doing that, and now found out it was the way I thought it was to begin with. Which I might have played that other deck, but that means I'm going to bring my mirror deck back. Yay!
So
Um,
just to be clear, there's two different equipment that function different ways, right? So
okay.
the equipment in question was a tricorder, an OS tricorder. When you play it, you choose what people gain. So when you download it, when you special download it, you can stop and choose what people gain. The other equipment is the communicator. That one does not automatically gain. You have to execute an order to tell who gets what. So it's listed in the rulebook as a separate listing. When you special download the communicator, you can't use it to gain skills. But when you special download the tricorders and kits or what the other OS equipment, you can. That's the difference.
Why is that? Is that just because the what it says in the
Yeah,
in the
because
glossary?
it's worded slightly differently. Of picking
Yeah.
someone and gaining that skill until something else, as opposed to just gaining a skill. Those people gain this skill. Choose what skill it is.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, that's also good to know.
yeah,
But that means the tricorder. There's still all the other equipment that work like the tricorder, and they function that same way.
yes.
The medical tricorder, and I think there's like one other. All right. Well, anyway, that mirror match ended poorly, uh, and it didn't start. I come to like we said, we come to have fun and play, and I was just there to casually play against other players. And from the first, I mean, I'm not faulting Richard at all, because it's Worlds, and people are there to also win, which is again why I don't really like playing in high level tournaments. But literally from the very first card play, it was I'm going to play this card. I was Kibus Faggio Collector. I was like, okay, um, I'll ref that so I
Hmm.
can mirror it. It's like, no, I get an action before you. I was like, okay, but I went second, so I downloaded the Cue the Ref, and I always thought you could choose whether you play your hidden agendas up or down, because I've seen them required to play up before, and so I was like, I choose to play it up, and we always play it up. And then like his very first action is something that was refable, so I was like, I'll ref it. It's like, no, you can't do that. And I still may think I may have been right, but he clearly cared about it more than I did, and that was not why I was there. So I was like, fine, take it. I don't want to start the game with a ruling, but that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game, and so um, it was clearly downhill for me anyway. So it wasn't like it was going to make a difference in me beating him. But
Sure.
that was the even if I had won, I felt like that was going to be me playing more players who were going to be on that sort of I must win this game serious mentality at Worlds, and it's like I want to lose and go play somebody who was here to have fun like me. So which I did. I went and played Brian Sykes, and we had a good time. Although I had another uh, exhaustion moment of lag and turned my full win into a modified win. He was playing TOS Romulans and had not quite. He kind of underestimated my enterprise when he decided to come over and attack me. My ship was left empty while I was on a planet, but I had Burial on the surface, so I was able to special download a Blade of Armor,
Hmm.
uh, which so his attack bounced, but then I was able to counterattack and beam up all my TOS crew, and my ship went.
Your Enterprise E crew.
Yeah, so that was nice, and then I went over and uh, I just was able to keep delaying him with between dilemmas and interrupts, and hit my last mission at time, and I cleared everything else out. I had the requirements and hit the game, and I was very excited because I'd already played what's her name. I always say it's Suzanne Dumont, and I know it's not. It's the other one,
Lisa Czar.
Lisa Czar. I know I had played her, and she was out, and I was searching for her, and I had left her on the other ship that got bounced when I STP'd Cytherians, and so I was like, dang it, and there's no, I was like, I can't get around that. I'm stopped. I got the requirements, and I'm not going to get time, but I'm ahead, and I went first, so I guess we'll just hope that we can hold him off. And just a little bit into his turn, I was like, I go, your turn. I was like, oh wait, I've got Deanna. I can unstop my people and
Ah,
solve.
dope.
And it was, so that was another. I'm clearly not cut out for this high level play sort of thing. Um, but that was modified win, and then I played Sean, who, despite kind of getting stalled by my dilemmas and being held off, and I got the full win against him, had probably the biggest stroke of awesome against me, which I thought was I was so staggered uh, by it that I completely forgot that I had seeded an emergency evacuation to avoid my ship being destroyed. But he dropped Crystalline Entity with lore on the table, and it was just in the nick of time. Like he dropped lore the turn before I went and attempted, and it had been, we were already halfway through the game, and I was like, I'm going to go over here, and it's like, well, I've got this other ship. Maybe I should use the Akira so I don't risk the Enterprise. That sounds like a good idea. Be safe. And of course, with my crew on the Enterprise, I've got shields of like 16 or something stupid. But because I took the Akira, I was shields of 10, and I needed shields greater than 12 for the doubled Cytherians, and my music was on the wrong ship, so I couldn't even security drills my music to get past it. So that was pretty epic, and it definitely slowed me down. And I gave him a big handshake for that. That was apparently everybody else was like, "Oh yeah, Crystal Entity lore," and I was like, like you were saying, dilemma combos you're not expecting to see.
Exactly.
That was one that I was not expecting, and I thought was hilarious, even though it took out three-quarters of my people on the table. So hat tip to Sean O'Reilly for that. That was pretty hilarious. Um, and I didn't even escape pod my people because I was dumbfounded.
Too odd. And then you played. Looks like Ken.
Yeah, we had the lunch break after round three, and that was when we had talked about dropping. Round three is sort of the cutoff for getting your foil, and I was like, "Yeah, that was good. I had fun. I'm done now." And we went into lunch, and we were chatting, and we're like, "Yeah, that went really well, and it was fun. It's so much effort to make a 1E deck. Maybe I'll play one around, you know." Terrible, terrible, terrible decision. Probably my worst decision of the weekend because and granted, Ken even said that he got basically a god draw, but he was playing what looked like an interesting deck, but then it basically boiled down to again one of like the top five broken cards in 1E right now. Uh, we had both seeded Insurrection. Uh, uh, what I and I had it in there because Johnny had it in there as what I expect, and I agree with as a great strategy to be a decoy. Go send your dead end and your other big stuff over here, and I have no intention of doing it. Um, and that had worked really well in previous games, but we duplicated it, so I didn't really think it through. We just came rushed back from lunch, so I was like, okay, duplicate mission. That's where I'm going to throw my 2-card combo instead of my 3-card combo. Uh, Instead of going, that's a really good mission, and if he's using it, that's going to kill me, and I don't care about doing it anyway, so I should put something big and beefy there. Uh, he threw one card, which he knew he could pass, and he had already teched his entire deck against getting past the access denied combo, and so he first turn attempted, got through, didn't solve, and I was too far away to get over and try and steal it myself, and I didn't have enough strength at that point anyway. Second turn, he downloads Ruafo, most metaphasic, and you know uh, all of a sudden he gets 2 turns and all of his people unstop. So each turn, so basically he gets 4 turns, and I've already had one. So I was like, nope, done. There was no point in playing this, and it's only going to get more painful from here. So congratulations, I'm out.
Yikes. Yeah.
Uh,
So should have called it at 3 games then.
yep, should have left. Should have stayed gone. Uh,
Uh, well, I'm sorry to hear you went out on a disappointing note.
yeah,
That's tough. I'm looking at the finals. It looks like Stefan went on to win that day. In fact, the 3 people I played were it's like 1, 5, and 9. Those are my 3 losses.
he's,
But at the end of 6 rounds, I think I decided to go back to the room and crash. Did I go back to the room and crash that day? It was Thursday. I don't remember what we did. What was going on Thursday?
yeah, that sounds right. Uh,
Yeah, Thursday I went back to the room and crashed because
because then we
we had
got
started early after staying up late the night before, and there was tribbles at 10 o'clock. So I went back and
yeah.
crashed, and then it was time for dribbles. Did you do anything in the meantime while I was passed out?
I know I did, and I just apparently can't seem to remember what it was. Oh, I do remember now. I went and ate, and then I went back over to the Embassy Suites where because I went actually and arrived on Sunday before the con. A bunch of my friends from Boston and other places around the world were showing up early, and they actually rented out a suite or a conference room so that we could get there early, have a room to go play games with like 5 tables of games, and because it's always so hard to meet up with everybody that you know is going to Gen Con and get a chance to game with them, even if you're signed up for multiple games. Scheduling it out is tough. So they do that so they can see each other and socialize and get to play games with each other. Role playing games and board games and stuff. Um, and then everybody can feel not feel bad about doing their own thing during the actual con. And if we meet back up after that, that's great. And if not, we already got to see each other. But that room was open the whole con, and they had one of the members of that was one of the designers on a new game called Shadowrun Crossfire, and they were doing demos of that night at 10 o'clock. That was like the starter demo, and I had been helping play, uh, to others to learn who were helping out. I didn't volunteer to demo because I wanted to come out and help out with tribbles because I knew we would probably have a lot of people there and need some scorekeepers and wranglers and such. But I felt bad that we had been playing all week and not had a chance to help out with the demo. So I was like, can I help you sort cards? Or he had got the boxes of the demo decks in that night and had to sort them out. Of products. So we went. They were doing one last run through of demos so they could all make sure they understood the game to play it. I was guinea pig to play so they could teach me and sorted cards, and so that was a nice way to kind of fill the intervening time and still get to socialize before coming over for tribbles. And that was like my first new game of the con, and it was actually very interesting. I really enjoyed it. So if you're into Shadowrun, that I know there are a lot of people who are, and you would like a game that is kind of fast-paced and not quite as lengthy or time-consuming as the role-playing game, I recommend it. Shadowrun Crossfire is the name of it, and it's 4-player, and you've got the 4 base roles of doing a Shadowrun crew, uh, and you do different tasks. It's actually similar in concept, if not in mechanics, to our other favorite game of the weekend, which we'll get to, um, the Pathfinder card game.
Yeah. So we came back for triples, and 10 o'clock we played around, and then we had a top table and played another round. I want to say on Wednesday when we got in, we played some triples, and Thursday and Friday and Saturday we played triples, and Sunday morning for World Champions we played triples. I think I only won one table all 12 games or so. But anyway, triples is always fun because it's always midnight before we're done and everyone's punchy and having a good time.
Right.
Uh, did we? I think I want to say after that we went back and crashed because it was another 9 a.m. start the next day for 2 week day one, right?
Yeah, we had tribbles, and then there was talk of Cards Against Humanity, and it was like, no, 9 a.m. Worlds tomorrow. We need to go sleep.
Yeah. So 2E Worlds. I took a page from your book and did not play very much. uh, how many rounds did you stay for?
I stayed for 3, and I could have stayed for more. Um, and I say this after making the terrible mistake Friday or Thursday, but I knew that I would be done. In fact, I almost left halfway through my third game because I had plans to meet up with a friend for a costume group.
Okay.
Thursday was or Friday, sorry, was when I wore my monk gamer's costume, which is why I shaved my head last couple weeks. Which was very entertaining to watch people who knew who I was and not know who I was when I walked up to them and said hi at the con. I was I was kind of lamenting us not getting to do a show before GenCon because of technical difficulties, but it actually worked out to be fairly hilarious. Um, but
I,
yeah,
I was there for Richard Drew's reaction on the last day because he said hi or he was leaving, so I said it was good to see you, take bye, and then he kind of turned to you and he kind of had this look like I don't quite reckon. I think your badge was turning around. And I said, "This is Rogue," and he just jumped up and down and was like, "Oh my God, I didn't recognize you!" It's hilarious.
and I
uh,
and I got a lot of that all the way over the weekend, and sometimes in the like same people over and over again because they'd see it and they'd process it and like, oh, okay, and then kind of pass it and then come back the next day and like, oh, right, crap, Jared Hoffman just kept coming and it's like, I can't believe it's you. I can't believe what oh, right, that's you. and Ken kept doing that. It was entertaining, but yeah, I got to wear my monk costume again. Gamers, Darkness Rising, and Hands of Fate. We've mentioned on the show before. I'm a big fan of those movies, and I had some friends who were doing. I joined for a costume group of that. The guys who made those movies were at Gen Con. They're always at Gen Con, actually, some of them at least. And they did a live improv show Friday night, which we went to, and then we stuck around and got to take pictures with the members of the cast who were there. The guy who played my character was not there, but they later shared that photo on Facebook, on their Facebook page, and he saw it and was like, "That's fantastic! I can't believe I wasn't there." So we got a lot of love for. It's always funny. The more obscure your costume, the more excited people are who get it. Um, so that was nice to get there and share it with people who at least love those movies as much as we did. So because of that, I was out and ready to go as soon as we got to round three. But I played my regionals deck, because it was built and I didn't have to change it, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I ran the table at not to sound cocky, but it did. It's a really tough deck to play against, and it's a really easy deck for me to sit there and play, because it's just a matter of, okay, dilemma, and who's left? Can I cheat around this? Yes or no? And um, it's complicated in a simplistic way. I don't know any other better way to describe it, because it's got a lot of moving parts, but I understand them all, and there's not a lot of decisions to make. It's just a matter of whether I can or whether I can't. So all my games were 50 to 100. Um, so I always got a mission off. I got to play war games at least twice, which is always tickles me. And even when I lose, I enjoy playing that deck because I like the way it works and the way it manipulates things. And very rarely do I ever feel like I'm really frustratingly beating my head against a mission.
Oh,
Um,
that's good.
yeah,
Uh,
and all of my games were really close. The one that, I mean, I got one person played equipment malfunction. I was like, "What are you doing playing equipment malfunction? How could you know to bring that?" But they were smart enough to see the power of the orbs and prepare for that. So
oh yeah, that's a good trick.
yeah.
Than mine. Um, I'm looking at your pairings, and first round, Matt Kirk. So had you two played these two decks against each other before?
Well, no, no. He was playing. What was he playing?
I don't know. He hasn't posted a deck yet.
Um, Earth Cadets, and he like he came halfway through the con, and he was sleep deprived, and we started late because he was digging around because he had built his whole deck, but he forgot a headquarters in its worlds. You can't really just throw proxy in, I guess, even though I was fine with that. But so we got started late and rolled on, and I got through a mission, and I really, he got through a mission, but pretty early, and then just I kept one dilemma, hitting him with one dilemma after one dilemma after one dilemma on his second mission, and he was all right. No, okay, next time. Okay, wait, no, next time. And I managed to get through one mission. I was one cheater away from winning, and we kind of had we were about to finish the turn. I was like, wait, no, hang on. And I counted it all up. I needed one skill, and I had a covenant in my hand. And he was very patient while I counted it all out. And I dropped the covenant, and he grab plated it, which took me out of the attempt. So I was like, all right, I can't do it. And I was sorting my cards, and we got time, and it was like, well, he's been pegging at this mission, and I don't care. And I had my shot at my full win, and he canceled it. We started late. It's really not time for us. We should really have at least 5, 10 more minutes. So
Okay.
it's like
Yeah.
go, take your turn. And so we carried on, and he managed to pull it out. So I mean, I don't, uh, again, I don't want to really win like that. I'd rather just, if I deserve the time win, I'll take it. But I don't want to like steal his game, and
Sure.
I know he was
Sure.
more excited about playing. So
And if,
that
if
was a
you started late, then that makes perfect sense. You
yeah, exactly. So
actually
that
10
was
seconds.
cool. And
Yeah.
I was like, aha! Oh wait, nah, we should really have another round. So go ahead, and he managed to stop me again. So he pulled that one out, and I think did really well. There was a lot of Earth, uh, DS9 Earth, and DS9. In fact, I think all of my games were against some form of that. Um,
Yeah, it looks like it. Your three games. Michael Moskup
yeah,
played DS9 Earth, and John Paul VZ played DS9.
yeah. So I got a lot of exercise with my moral choices, which was good, and I got to surprisingly got to play my Shocking Betrayal against DS9, so that was cool.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I love that deck, and I could play it all day. And even when I lose, I've never not scored a mission with that deck. It's really solid. So I like it, and I don't want to say it plays itself, but in my brain, I know it well enough that I can kind of go auto pirate.
Did you just say autopilot?
Might have.
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
Well, yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I'm gonna rewind just a second
Yeah.
because speaking of cool cards that got to be played, I threw one card in my one deck that made me snicker as I was rolling through, looking for just minor adaptions that might be good. And I actually got to play Your Place is on the Bridge. Uh, because on my opening, I drew it in my opening turn, and uh, Brian Sykes was playing with a battle bridge, so he flipped a damage marker on the Enterprise. So my ship was damaged. I got to download my matching commander
That is awesome.
and get Riker out and flagship renewed on the first turn. So I was quite pleased with that, and I knew Charlie would like that. He was walking by when it happened, so uh, he was pleased.
Brilliant. Uh, I was playing a similar deck that I played a little while ago, my three headquarters deck, because um, as you said, it was put together, which is a big selling point when you're pressed for time and you're going to be playing at least. I, I kind of figured 8 rounds would be way too much for me, so I figured I'd play until the third round, or I had 2 losses. I think is what I had decided. Because if you keep winning, that makes it easier to keep playing over and over again, right?
Sure,
Um, I got paired
except
up. Yeah, go ahead.
except it just keeps getting harder.
Yeah, but the the the, the satisfaction of victory as the odds get harder, that would propel me and keep me going, even in second edition where you have to think. In first edition, I played 6 rounds because half the time you don't have to think. You're thinking on your turn, and then your opponent's facing your dilemmas, and you don't have to worry about it. But in second edition, you have to think on both turns, and it is much more um, thinking intensive. So
Yes, it's a lot
I
more
figured
tactical.
that was my plan. Third round or 2 losses, and we'd see how it went. First round, I got paired against Corbett, and I don't know if he apologized before or after we played, but he was playing Damaged and Mirror Starfleet, and I was playing my three headquarters, which takes a little while to get going. But I first turn dropped Huron. I downloaded Prejudice and Politics, P&P'd him, and scored 5 points within the first 30 seconds of the game. So I declared me the first guy to score points in all of World's Day One. And that was fantastic. And then I proceeded to, I think those were the only 5 points I ever got because he
Oh,
dropped
jeez.
dropped the minefield event on his mission and said secret ID, and then
Oh,
had
yes.
damage archer, and so I'm looking at my 8 drawn dilemmas, and I see secret ID and a bunch of stuff that I was playing a Chula pile, so it was all random selection stuff. So I had the answer, but he had the answer to my answer, and I don't even think I played anything. I think I just put it all under, and I showed him the secret ID, and he said, "Yeah, well, there you go. This is a terrible card." And he went off to a second mission, and boy, I don't know if I played anything then either because I didn't draw my secret ID that time. Uh, and then he moved to his third mission because, why not? And that time I drew into my the caretaker's guest, and he hadn't played a minefield, so I was able to look through his pile and see that Archer was in the second attempting crew that he hadn't sent down yet, so I sent somebody away, and he had enough stuff left over to get past everything and solve, and that was the end of that.
Oh.
uh, but it was an entertaining game, and John and I went and recorded our scores and sat down with Van Bremen and Michael and talked for a bit, and we actually went from talking about how that was, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, man, that was terrible for you," and we we went and started talking about 1E, what 1E Mirror Starfleet could do, and that's the set that probably could be working on off in the future. So I made a few notes about interesting things that they could be if we can't get the no cards in hand thing to work in 1E, which I don't know if that's going to be a good thing for them or not. And then we talked triples for a little while because he's recently gotten into that, and then it was time for the next round. So even though it was a quick loss and I felt like I played 3 or 4 cards and that was it, it was still entertaining. So thanks to John for that. I played another John in the next round, John Paul Vasey, and I got a modified win. I want to say this was after 200 to 100 full wins the previous day. I got a 100 to 75 modified win or something because there's a card that makes you score more than an extra 10 points to win unless you solve 3 missions, and I only have 2 missions. So time ran out, and I couldn't score another 5 points through a P&P or something to get the full win on that, but that's fine. I did deck my opponent completely, which was a side goal of the Dissident deck. I had added last time I played this. Charlie said, "Hey, there's a new Romulan event that lets you pay 1 counter. They have to peel a card off their deck. If it's an event or an interrupt, you get to draw a card, and then you can play it from your discard pile at cost +1 to do it again and put it out of play." So I was able to. I threw 3 copies of that in, and in addition to all the other, like Jake peeling people off, with trying to get a personnel with Katra to get 5 points. I was tongue-going people away. I was burning people with, getting under your skin and prejudice to politics, getting them, cycling people. Even if it was personnel, I was still happy. Even though I didn't get 5 points, it meant it was one more card out of your deck. So that was fun. I burned him out of cards and then won. My next game against Roxanne, she hasn't posted her deck, and I have no idea what she was playing because I played way too many games. But I want to say now about midway through the game, I ran her out of cards and then concentrated on trying to pick off her personnel with, there's only a few Chula cards that bounce people, but I also had a few necessary executions in there, so I was picking off people so she wouldn't be able to do her other missions because everything else was gone. So I decked half my opponents. That was great. So I got a full loss from John, a modified win on other John. I got a full win on Roxanne, so I was doing well at the end of 3 rounds, and you took off. I could play 1 more, and I got paired up against Amber Van Bremen, and she was running a Voyager deck, which was about as thick as, I'd say, one of Johnny's decks. It was huge, so there was no way I was running her out of cards. But in fact, I don't even know what the score was in that game. I don't even know if it was close or what, because that was my last game, and I got a full loss. But I want to say that might have been the round I just didn't get any traction at all. I couldn't get any of my things going. You need a handful of Romulans to get P&P, and you need a hand. Oh no! I'm suddenly remembering what happened. I got P&P. I got P&P early. She was playing Chakotay and Chakotay, and you know what I did? I P&P'd her 3 copies of Chakotay into her hand, revised Chakotay and Chakotay, so that she had fuel to throw him away to revise Chakotay on her turn.
Oh
In fact,
God.
after the second time, I said, "I'll P&P you again." Clearly, it's a Chakotay, and she flipped it over, and it was a Chakotay, and we both kind of looked at each other, and all right, I'm done. I cannot win this game. There is nothing I can do. All of her, I remember all of her random selections were exactly who she needed to thwart everything I was doing. It was all the Star Trek karma for my first 2 decking my opponents coming back to me. "Oh, you run your opponents out of cards? Well, look what's going to happen to you." And it was amazing. Yeah, she burned through her missions, and there was nothing I could do. It was amazing, and that was a good time to end. So I think at that point we had collected our promo foils, and I went and uh, one of the things that they asked people to do was notify the front desk if you're not coming back, which makes pairings for the next round a lot easier.
Right.
So we made notification, and I think I gave you a text and said, "Hey, what's going on? I'm done now." and and I think you were over at the were you at the Paizo booth then?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
was
where?
actually wandering by there. I had one of the things I forgot I did on Thursday afternoon was demo that Pathfinder adventure card game because I'd heard so much about it, and some other groups, other folks in my Boston group had tickets, and I'd gotten one out of them so I could try it out, and I actually really loved it. It was fantastic. I bought a deck so I could play in that event, but I did hear that they were taking generics, walk-on tickets if you wanted to play, and they had decks to borrow.
Hmm.
I was like, "Hey, you should totally come do this." So I texted you and said, "Was like, hey, if you want to come do this, it's 4 o'clock, and we could do a demo beforehand whenever you're done with Tui." And you had just finished your game. Like, how about now? Because I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. So we wandered over, and actually JD joined me as well. I think he forgot to tell the front desk that he was leaving after the third round, so he got paired up in the fourth round and sat down and played. And
Uh,
then when he was done with two of us, walked over to where you were, and you were waiting for a demo table, and not long after we got there, you we sat down and got a demo of this game, and it was maybe the second worst demo I've ever had.
after the Star Trek card game demo,
Yeah,
the deck builder. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. A couple years ago, remember that?
I do.
Um, yeah, that's how bad it was. But the promise that the game had was enough to outweigh the guy's incompetence and poor math skills and quite honestly eh, lack of social ability. But it was a pretty good game. You get a little you'll get a little card what your character does, and your character moves around the board and tries to acquire loot and allies and defeat monsters and pass barriers, and you're hunting down the big boss, and he's got some lackeys that he runs around with, and you have to you have to visit several locations and clear them out like a dungeon crawl or something, and two people could go at it together, or everyone can go off on their own. And I like the style of everyone versus the board. Uh, I mean, it's fun to play games where one person wins, but it's also fun to play the game where you're all in it together and you're facing a difficult task ahead of you. And if the thing I don't like about Legendary is it still feels like we're playing against each other, where we're playing against the board and we might lose, but there's that background. Well, I need to play. I need to look out for number one. Where in this game, everyone's in it together, and you're trying to win before the countdown ends. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had a good time. I don't think JD had a good time. I think his tolerance for inept gamer people is not quite as high as ours has been. Maybe after the con, it got a little higher. This is his first Gen Con, and it was like his third day. So, you know,
Well, and I mean, part of the problem was that this guy, I mean, he just had no demoing ability, and he was trying to explain the entire rule book at
even better.
once,
We
and
told
then
him.
before we even got the chance to play, and JD had to leave to go back to the next round because he decided to keep playing,
Right,
and so he
right.
didn't even get to the playing part. He
And we made the mistake of telling him we were going to go up. We were thinking about going upstairs into the game room and playing this game in the
Yeah.
organized play version. And so before telling us how to play, he started listing all the things that were different with no reference points. It was like 10 minutes of wasted life. I don't know what. Anyway, I've complained enough about the guy. The game was interesting enough that it was like, well, this is fun. Uh, let's go. And then we walked over and looked at the boxes on the other side of the booth wall, and you had already bought a pack at that point, right? Right?
I did. They had there's the central game, the core game that comes with everything you need to play, sets up the adventure and makes the adventure modular, so that you can play different scenarios over the course of an adventure path. But there's also for the organized play, they have just class packs. And so you can say, I'm going to play a fighter and buy the fighter pack, and it comes with 4 different fighters, and they have different abilities. So you can vary if you want to be a two-handed weapon fighter, if you want to be a ranged weapon fighter, or a two-weapon, maybe your bodyguard. So they all have slightly different powers and slightly different card ratios, and then you get a pack of like 110 cards of different types, and depending on the type of uh, fighter you are, you use those within the constraints on there to pick which card you're going to use. Uh, and so there's a small CCG element to it in that you're customizing your 15 card character deck, but it starts very restrictive. You have to use all basic cards, um, and then they're marked, but you get the whole pack comes with the more advanced cards, and then with each iteration of game, you get to improve 1 card, maybe 2, depending on how it goes, and so you actually get rewarded for progressing. So if you just want to play in the organized play uh, uh, scene, and you're going to go to your local game store and play it there, you don't have to buy the $60 or the $80 game and expansions. You can buy your one deck and go and play with other people, and still be able to get part of that experience. So there's a lot of facets of both the game and the organization that are very modular and open to different levels of play and player, which I thought was really ingenious. And
Yeah,
that's what they were doing upstairs.
my plan was to go upstairs, and if you're familiar with any kind of role-playing game setting, there's usually a lot of different roles that you want to bring along in your adventuring party, right? So you want a
Mm-hmm.
fighter, and you want a cleric, and you want a rogue, and you want a sorcerer. So I went up with the intention of being whatever we needed, because I was kind of not doing anything, and someone said be a fighter, so I walked over to the demo table and said to our friend Tanis, I need to be a fighter. Which one should I be? And she said, take this guy. And I took that guy and played him for the rest of the weekend, actually, and it was a lot of fun. Had I had some extra time, I probably would have gone down and bought the pack in the store, but I did not realize that they were not available right away, and I did not realize that it would take quite a long time to actually buy them because their line was out the door and around the corner, and every time I went by there, it was closing time, so there was no chance. But anyway, we went upstairs after the demo. JD had to take off, and we sat in and played the first level, and it was a blast. I liked it so much, we spent our generic tickets and we went outside and sat down again. Didn't we play a second time that night? Did we play immediately afterward?
I don't think we played immediately because it was 6 o'clock and I had to go to another thing, and I think you were tired and we're gonna go. But we were, it was like we looked at the schedule, and I had at least one ticket for the next day, and they were
All
starting
right.
up at I think 11. We didn't quite go crazy with the 9 a.m. Oh no, because our friend Jeff was coming in the next day to visit. So I had already mentioned that I was busy at noon. I scrapped my My Little Pony plans because of horrible organized play decisions on their part, which I won't get into. But I exchanged all those for generic tickets, and we went and sat down at noon and pretty much stayed in that room the rest of the day.
Yeah, that was
Um,
awesome. I mean, it was great to see Jeff in the morning, and it's one of our oldest friends, and we had a great lunch. And then after lunch, we bid farewell and sat down and played that game 5 more times in the course of 4 sessions, actually.
yeah, we managed to squeeze one in during the break, which was
Yeah.
nice that they let us do that. Um, Yeah, and we managed to squeak out. I don't know that a lot of people did that, but we managed to squeak out a win on all 6 of our games. There were 6 different scenarios you could play over the course of the adventure. One game is a scenario, and usually 5 or 6 scenarios makes up an adventure. And at the end of the adventure, if you do all the scenarios, you get a bigger arc reward, and then over that, in the organized play, they're going to have the adventure path for a season, and there will be, so that was one adventure. There will be probably five or six more adventures over the season. So and it has a lot of promise. It looks really cool, and it turns out when we did the demo, the newest expansion that's coming out of a new base set is pirate themed, and I played a swashbuckler, which I loved, and then found out they didn't have a play deck for that. They only had the base classes so far, so you couldn't buy the individual class deck for that. So I bought a rogue, and it turns out the reward for completing all 6 of the scenarios that we played was, if you want, you can now play the swashbuckler in organized play with a rogue deck. So I
Perfect.
got what I wanted anyway.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. All the victories were narrow, I think, except the last one, and we
Yes.
kind of gamed that one a little bit. And after after playing 5 times, we were smart enough to read all the cards and figure out what we did, and we found exactly the one we needed, and we got just an amazing start of the first couple locations and burned through and figured out exactly what we need to do. And all our dice rolls were coming up, and I think the last roll, I think we had pooled all resources, and we had to get like someone had to roll an 11 on 12 dice or something like that. It was ridiculous. But it was a lot of fun. We played all day, and I think all the next day we lamented our decision not to actually buy it at the con. Am I right?
Yeah, we like did the math and we're like, well, we'd have to find a way to get it home. I know that would probably involve paying $20 or $30 to check another bag, and it's actually more expensive at the con. We could get it cheaper at home, and the new one doesn't come out for 3 weeks, even though we probably wouldn't get a chance to play. Uh, and it was like all the logic was directed towards, wait till you get home and then order it. But that night, we're like, God, I wish we had bought that so we could play it right now. I want to play that game right now. And that was, I think, to the annoyance of everybody around me because I wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. So after we played all day, we went and played triples again. That was Saturday night.
Yep.
We only had a single round of triples because at 11 o'clock we did the Austin Powers World Championship, which JD and I went off to. I had a blast. Sean O'Reilly did a fantastic job running. I think we were 4 tables of 6 or 7 people. There were a lot of people there. That was great. The guy that won our table went on to win, so that was fun. And there was kind of a raffly bit at the end, for all the new players, raise your hand, okay, and then he set them all out, and he flipped over a couple, and I won a complete set of Austin Powers. So
Oh,
I've got
nice.
people like Will Hoskins was there, and he was Sean was handing out packs, and everyone was looking at them like probably like we would look at Young Jedi packs if someone gave us Young Jedi packs. So everyone was throwing them at me. I got a stack of packs to crack open, another starter. So I should have everything I need to make a few decks. So this will be something that we will have to try locally, one of these days. Just because it's entertaining. I don't think it's something that we could do at Arby's after a tournament because some of the well, it's not friendly with young people. Let's put it that way.
A little on the risque side.
It is adult themed, yes. So maybe one of our Friday nights or one of our Saturday afternoon barbecues or something when we're at somebody's place and the children are in the swimming pool or various other places, we could try playing around with it. But I think it would be fun just for a random group thing to do because there's a lot of yelling and a lot of other random stuff.
Well, while you did that, everybody who was still awake and done playing tribbles went back to the JW, and we managed to, thanks to Maggie, commandeer a nice-sized lounge area and played a couple hours of Cards Against Humanity, and continued to brainstorm what has been a brainchild for a year or more now, and which is making a continuing committee edition for us to play at GenCon, and I think we're definitely going to have to do that. We all sat down. We finally got together after we had been broken up into 2 groups, and then Neil gets up very briskly and immediately walks away without explanation. So I turned to the crowd and said, "Okay, new black card. Why is Neil leaving?" Which was that was just kind of a sample of the theme of the night. It was really funny, playing cards off of each other, playing cards that kind of related to Star Trek cards, or William Shatner as a trump card, and uh, uh, just a really great way to end the night communally. And I thought we stayed up really late, but you guys were still gone when I went upstairs at like 2
Yeah, no, we
to go
played
to
from
bed.
about 11:30. The problem with Austin Powers is when you're playing with 4 tables, if any one of the tables goes long, there's no real time limit. So we were there, kind of twiddling. Our first game ended quickly, and we were there twiddling our thumbs for a while, waiting for everyone else. And I think by the last round, I finally figured out the strategy. You know, I was sitting next to Ken, and in the first round, and he was just dominating. And the other guy that had actually won, I wish I remembered his name, um, was they were going back and forth a lot. It was huge. Anyway, uh, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then we crashed, and then the next day. Did you get up early and go off and do something? You had to play once the
I
Pathfinder game
did.
with your swashbuckler, yeah?
Yeah, I went and played one more game with the Swashbuckler so I could get the power feat to make her insane ability even more insane. So that'll be fun to play once we get organized play in our area. I went and got the Goblin that you can play, which will also be fun. I again
Yeah.
resisted the urge to buy the full game and again regretted it. But I managed to do all my shopping and get back over just in time for Tribble's World Championships.
That's right. We started around, was it noon or 1 o'clock? I don't remember.
It was 1 o'clock because I
Right.
just made it in the 11 to 1 slot.
So I had brought a box, a long white tube full of 11 demo decks with the same intention that I had last year to give them all away, so I didn't have to carry them home. And by that afternoon, I was down to probably 8 of them, and by the time the round started, I had 4 decks left. So I set them out. I gave out decks to everyone who wanted to play, and it was fantastic. But I was surprised. Johannes came over, and he said, "Oh, I'm looking for something new to play because I played my deck a few times and I want to try it. And these demo decks are pretty good." So I looked at the pile and I said, "Well, here's this deck has a lot of different powers in it. It's IDIC. Here, try this." And he said, "Oh, perfect. A lot of different powers. This is what I wanted." And then, of course, you know how this ends. We were paired together in our pod. It was me and Johannes, and last year Dave Bowling won. He was in my pod. Um, I figured it was going to be rough. I grabbed the Utilize discard deck that had been doing really well in other people's hands all day, and Johannes beat everyone. He beat me by, I think, 30,000 triples to advance to the final table. So once
Oh,
again, I was beaten with my own deck, and
so so probably by the amount scored from an IDIC.
yeah, no doubt, uh, no doubt.
Ugh.
Um, and I heard your first round went pretty well because you made it to the final table, yeah?
I did. I managed to squeak out. I played my all manner of scoring deck, and I actually went out once. So between the scoring and the going out, that put me ahead of what it was kind of a painful. It started sluggy, but then we managed to go out. What really paid off was that a lot of the people who went out did not go out for very much. They were trying to end it before it got too heavy, and then just trying to score points during the round, and just not everybody's luck was paying off with that. So when the two people who went out with a lot ended up being the ones who were kind of neck and neck, and I managed to pull it ahead uh, when I went out, and that sent me to the top table.
Nice. So you got to sit next to Johannes, or?
I did. I was to his left. It
Yep.
was me, Johannes, Jeremy, and Maggie, and Roxanne, and Daniel,
Madison.
and yeah, Daniel Madison, and Phil Schrader.
Okay.
So a diverse table and a lot of different things going on. And it may just be because I wasn't playing it, so I didn't see it, but I did not see a lot of recycle at my two tables, and I was really lamenting not having brought my rescue deck.
Hmm.
Uh, and uh, and Maggie was playing a battle deck. She had gotten over 1 million in her first table and was top seed, which lended me to question the logic of Phil poisoning her after seeing a couple of antidotes already come up. And sure enough, that put her out in the first round in like 5 minutes with 300,000, which really felt like it was going to be tough to catch up to. But she in turn battled Johannes, who came up with 300,000s in the second round, and proceeded to add to that uh, before going out. And that was like, as soon as that happened, it was like, don't let him go out, don't let him go out. we cannot let him go out, guys. We can't let him go out, and he went out, and that rocketed him ahead. And even though Maggie was trying, you know, it was just it was too tough to catch up to that. We kept trying to utilize and discard and poison and scrape and bow and tally our way to the top, but he just had such a big lead after that he was able to hang on to it. And I think whoever went out at the end was just like, nope, I'm going to end it. I want some points before we die.
Yeah, sure. All right.
which
Well,
I can
congratulations.
respect.
Congratulations to Johannes once again taking my deck and beating me with it, and
Beating everyone with it.
yeah, beating everyone with it. He got his third World's playmat because he placed in the bracket for both other events as well.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really nice. And then everybody at the top table got the world's playmat. Definitely not something I expected.
Yeah. So I beat everyone at my table. I think I was in table number two, and I out tallied everyone else, and I was around 700,000 or so. My
Wow,
favorite
nice.
deck on the day was Ken's. He had all ones and tens. He was just poisoning and utilizing, and he had started with the 200,000 head start and thought that would be enough to propel him to the top table, but he just missed it. So uh, yeah, that was fun day, and I finally won a table. It was the last table. All right, I'll take it. And that after that we did ran some errands, hit the floor for a few minutes, and we all met back up at the Granite something or other for the last two
Granite
events.
City.
Yeah, which was an awesome venue. I'd definitely go back there again. They
Yeah.
seem to like us too. There was a standard orbit tournament and a Voyager draft, and the Voyager draft was really calling me. $10 for a starter and like 3 or 4 packs of a bunch of different expansions. And also the standard orbit was calling me because I had my 3 headquarters deck, and that would have been annoying for anyone to play. But in the end, we just sat around and played, and had a really good dinner and played Cards Against Humanity. I had a chat with Charlie about what we're going to do for tribbles, and it was a good time was had by all, I believe. I think
Nice.
we had an early flight, so we kind of wrapped up and went back to the hotel with my intention of crashing. And then Cards Against Humanity came out again, and we played for another 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours or whatever.
Pretty much.
I think it was 2 o'clock, and I was loopy, and I placed an order for both the Pathfinder Adventure game and the 6-player expansion, so it'll be here tomorrow. Thank you, Amazon Prime. It'll be here in time for our Friday night gaming group. Um,
Excellent.
we got up early and made our flight. There was no drama for our flight home, and here we are. I'm ready to pass out, but get back into the swing of things of not being on vacation at GenCon anymore.
Indeed. Yeah, apologize to everyone who was expecting a show later tonight, but we're trying to get it out of the way before I don't think we would be coherent enough to even report on anything if we waited that long. So,
No, the inevitable crash is coming.
yes. But another great Gen Con. I'm much more enamored with this experience than I was with my last Gen Con. I had a great time, and I think the lead in, even while making it exhausting because I had so much fun staying up late, uh, helped get me over the usual post-con depression because by the time it was done, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done.
Excellent. So thanks to everyone. Thanks to Charlie for running a great weekend. All the folks who volunteered to run events, fantastic. All the opponents that I had the entire weekend, even the games where I got trashed, it was all a good time. I was thoroughly enjoyed myself, and happy to see just so many people coming out for Tribbles Worlds. It was just a ton of people. The results aren't posted yet, but I think we had 7 tables of 7 people or something.
Sixes and sevens,
Yeah,
so yeah, between 41, 42, and 49,
yeah.
yeah, somewhere
I've
in
talked
there.
to a lot of people about Tribbles, talked about new powers we can put in and what we're going to do. So there will be another Tribble set. We will not skip another year. Sometime next
Woohoo!
year or this year, we'll have one put together. But I think we've been yammering on long enough. It's been quite a while. So let's
Yep.
wrap this up. Yeah.
All right. We should give a shout out, big congratulations to Jason Drake, our world's 1E champion, Neil Timmons, our 2E champion, and finally Johannes Klarhauser, the ever important Tribbles champion. Thanks everyone we saw. Uh, we will be back someday with a report on something else that is not Gen Con after we have slept. I am Sir Rogue.
And I'm Sudan.
And I will remind you all to expand your power in the universe.
And I will draw it and then collapse.